When I think back on my journey at Jewell, I think about gratefulness. I think about a community that believed in me when maybe I didn't believe in myself sometimes. It's just something I am so grateful for, and my family is as well, because they see how much I love what I do today, and it's because of Jewell.
You need a coach that will speak to you, a mentor to speak with you, and a sponsor to speak for you. And they will speak for you at that time, in that moment, to forward your career. We all need all those things. And oh, by the way, we can all be one of those things to someone else.
I think anybody who was in the communication department would say Dr. Georgia Bessie Bowman. She was always supportive and encouraging. And I didn't find that a lot with people when I told them that I wanted to go into broadcasting. I wanted to be a TV journalist, because if you think about it, in the 60s and the early 70s, there were not women who looked like me on TV in Kansas City. And when I talked to her about it, she said, yes, you can do that. And that was so enlightening and fulfilling to me that another woman would say, you can do this. So how do we help you get to where you need to be?
When you live with a group of girls, back at that time, we were all kind of on the same journey in terms of figuring out who we are and what we want to do and what directions we want to go and what our real strengths are. That kind of support gave you the freedom to try things that you might not have otherwise tried, and to explore and do it as best you can. So I would say, inspiration-wise, my sorority sisters were huge.
There is something about being a woman on this campus, particularly I would say between about the 60s and the early 90s, when women's identity on this campus was changing rapidly, and women were pushing those boundaries, and they were doing it together. And it was fun, but it also was helping them to evolve as people and ultimately as professionals going on to lead meaningful lives. And you can see that bond among our female alumni more than I've seen just about anywhere. It's really powerful.
I am the first African American woman to be in a sorority in the history of William Jewell, the very first. That was 1976. One evening, a couple of Zetas came to my room in Ely and talked to me and said, we'd really be interested in talking to you about joining our sorority. But at the same time, I was like, why are you wanting to do this? Why are you coming to me? I don't want to be a token. She said, I know you. I know your family. I know you. We want you for you. What you can bring to our sorority, a different dimension, but it has nothing to do with the race. So I wasn't afraid to step out and say that this could be an opportunity that could open the door for other women of color to be able to say, hey, there's freedom in me being able to do something similar if I choose to, not just in sorority, but anything on campus.
Women, whether or not in sororities, were required to be in their dorms by a certain time each night, and it was a fairly early time during the week, and frankly, a fairly early time on the weekends. And if you weren't there at that time, the door was locked. You had to literally call for security and stand at the front door, somewhat shameful, as if you had something to apologize for, while the security guard in his little Cushman cart came wandering up the sidewalk to let you in, giving you kind of the eye, like if only your father were here to see this.
Playing with the guys on the tennis team was just like playing with anybody. Girls, guys, didn't make any difference. When we had practices, everybody's working hard and sweating and doing the best they can. When we have matches, you're out there rooting for each other. I was one of the guys. When we traveled or when we weren't on the tennis court, it was consistent with the culture of the times and the attitudes of what we did at William Jewell, and I was treated like a princess. I never carried anything heavier than my purse and a couple of tennis rackets because the guys carried my bags. But I wasn't trying to create the frontiers. It just happened.
An experience I had at William Jewell that was instrumental to contributing to my career now as a nurse is when I went to chapel one night and I was able to hear an Indian woman named Lena Lavanya. When I was hearing her describe what her organization does, I knew instantly I had to go and see for myself. I went on this mission trip to India, and my life was changed. The biggest thing I learned was perspective. You never know what someone's story is. So you don't judge people by what health conditions they have or where they came from. You listen to their story and just treat people as they are.
I have to say that being on the debate team and being in a position where we were traveling almost every weekend, we went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, for example, for competitions. Had I ever been even out of state other than to cross the state line into Kansas? No. And so for me, it was just unbelievable to be in a position where you're driving the William Jewell van and with all of these people traveling to places unknown, places I'd never seen, with friends that I had a lot of respect for, and having an opportunity not only to compete in the name of the school, but to see the country. So those off-campus opportunities were really valuable to me.
One of the things that is interesting about being the head of people for Walmart, it doesn't make you an expert at anything, but it does allow you to see the behavior of 2.3 million people. What works, what doesn't, what motivates them, what discourages them. And so I've had the opportunity to watch a lot of people under a lot of different circumstances, good and bad. And one of the grittiest individuals that I have ever come across is Dr. MacLeod Walls, in terms of her ability to not give up, to be resolved, to dig down and find what's going to be positive or useful and lift up the people that are associated with her care. She somehow finds that in herself, that steely resolve. And then she encourages us, and she brings us all with her on the path to a better place, a better time, a better set of circumstances.
What I found rather amazing was the number of women who reached out to me, whom I do not know to this very day. Scores of letters and cards that came to my office within the first few weeks that I was here, telling me how meaningful it was for them as alumni, as friends of the institution, that William Jewell had hired its first female president. And I will also say that it has given me the opportunity not just to listen to our female faculty and the unique things that they experience in and outside of the classroom, but also to do something about it. I've forged relationships with our female faculty, with all of our faculty. But it's really important that I am the voice for all of the women on this campus because I carry the loudest voice. And so when I'm seeing something or hearing something, I can do something about that. And I do think that has made a difference for women at Jewell.
If I were speaking to the young women of William Jewell today, to provide guidance and inspiration about what your future might hold, I would tell them to talk to as many women Jewell grads as you can, and to learn their story and to draw strength from the fact that you're going to hear from most of them that they started from very little and have become what they are because Jewell provided them opportunities and because they've grown through those opportunities. It will be heartwarming for them to appreciate that most who attended Jewell weren't handed their futures. They achieved their futures, and they had to do that through working hard.
The confidence that you develop, and the confidence that you develop playing tennis, because you have to stand out there and they're keeping score, and you either perform or you don't. And then when you put it with the experience that William Jewell provided, and to be able to take that confidence and use it in other situations, makes a big impact on you as you go through life. Gives you strength and strength of character that you didn't know that you had.
Did William Jewell prepare me for a pandemic? If you can make it through William Jewell's nursing program, you can make it through a pandemic. I think if you can cope and work through nursing school, you can be prepared to tackle almost anything. As a nurse, you make a choice. You can choose to give up and say, I can't do this. For whatever reason, or you can persevere and just keep going. I think William Jewell did help shape that part of me, taught me to persevere, because it's hard work.
So the day that I graduated, I remember walking around the quad one final time. I know that, it was a tradition to walk around the quad when you first come to Jewell, and to be able to walk around one final time and have all of our family and friends there supporting us as we made our final journey around was just really touching. And getting to celebrate with my family, such a big accomplishment, because being a first college graduate was such a big deal for me and my family. And I know that they look back and are so grateful that I was able to have people that encouraged me and helped me graduate from this prestigious school.